So you're doing desert racing with a 351 and a C4. What's your top speed? You can't get more than 60 miles an hour, I feel like.
Our top is 104, but that's pretty scary.
This is going to be a great episode. Welcome back to the Broncast podcast, all about the Ford Bronco. I'm John Melton.
I'm Donnie Whiteman.
And you guys need to buckle in because this is a fun one. We're going to have some fun. Don't forget, our sponsor is Tom's Off-Road. Tom's Off-Road has every part you need to fully restore a Ford Bronco.
In this episode, we have a very special guest and a very special truck. He's like a modern day version of Parnelli Jones and Rod Hall put together. So our special guest today is Chris Greenwood from Greenwood Racing with what kind of looks like a Big Ole tribute.
Why Big Ole? Like, what was it, behind that you wanted to pay tribute to?
Well, initially I didn't have inclination to copy or imitate or even honor Big Ole from the outset, right? It just kind of morphed because of the paint scheme. Really, Big Ole is a tube chassis. It's one of the first trophy trucks in a sense. It was so far ahead of its time, and I have a lot of respect for it, and it was amazing and still is. But I didn't really roll into it with an idea that I was going to imitate or copy, right? We run a stock Bronco, and it's pretty far. And not only that, Big Ole is a two-wheel drive, right?
Oh.
So a little bit of differences there as well. So it just kind of came about, and I'm getting a little ahead, but in 21, we decided in honor of the 50th anniversary of Big Ole winning the Baja 1000, we entered the Baja 1000 as well. And some of the team members thought it'd be cool to kind of pay tribute at the Baja 1000.
Wow. That's super cool.
Where do you call home?
Currently live in Montrose, Colorado. It's on what we call the Western Slope. It's the western slope of the Rockies. From here, it's Utah.
I saw a post that you did, and it looked like you could just drive right out of your garage and hit the desert or something like that.
Yeah, you can go out our driveway, make a right, and disappear.
I was just out in Colorado, out in Bailey, and I know out that way they believe in two things: Bigfoot, and see if you can guess what the other thing is, John.
UFOs.
Aliens, that's right. Have you seen any of those while you've been out pre-running?
I've seen a lot of weird stuff out here, a lot of lights, a lot of interesting weather, but I can't confirm or deny.
Yeah, nice. So what was it? I mean, what is it about the Bronco that drew you to it? Like, do you have a history with Bronco, or was it just kind of like, oh, that'd be cool to race a Bronco?
Yeah, it's a little of both. I'm originally from Southern California, and my family was a huge racing family. We're talking dirt track, drag racing, NASCAR, and when I say big, they were actually driving, or they had cars, or they had vehicles. And living in Southern California, you're just exposed to that culture. And over time, friends and family, you come across all kinds of cool stuff with wheels. And when I was small, it was all about bikes, actually. And I raced motocross for a long time. I did a few desert races. I never got serious. But over time, seeing the Broncos and family and friends who had them, eventually I kind of gravitated. And then I picked up a 94 Bronco about 20-something years ago.
Yeah.
That started the whole mess.
So do you still have the 94?
I know. It's one of the few vehicles I wish I did. Soon after the 94, it was 31-inch tires stock. And it was like that for maybe a year. And then it was Dana 60, solid axle, long arm, 37s. I went crazy. And then I got into early Broncos. I just loved early Broncos, but I don't know. I just gravitated toward them and sold the 94 and never looked back. Soon after that, I picked up a 76 out of Butte, Montana. It was on Craigslist for $2,500, uncut, unmolested. I wasn't really looking for at the time. I picked it up for $2,500. Yeah. And I flew to Butte, Montana, one-way ticket, and drove it home to Denver. I was in Denver at the time. I wanted something with 35s and off road. So when I got it and realized when I got it home and everybody was like, dude, you don't want to touch that thing. Just keep it as is. I was like, you guys are crazy, whatever. But I kept it. I did a full restore on it and it was just beautiful, great truck. So that was my first early Bronco. And then I picked up a 69, which I still have. And that was on 35s, cage, ARBs. Then I picked up a 72, and then I picked up the 74, and then I picked up the 72 roller, and that's what I used for the racer.
So you still have the 69, and then you have the 72. Any other Broncos?
Yep, that's it. I have a new Bronco. I have a 2021 first edition.
There you go. Oh, nice.
So how long have you been racing off-road in your Bronco?
We started building the racer in July of 2018. That's when I pulled it out of a field, and we ran the 2019 Nora in April. So 8 months. We've been running it ever since 2019. And we've done roughly 5 Noras, 2 Baja 1000s, Vegas Reno, Silver State.
What condition was it in when you got it?
Very bad. It checked the box, though. I just needed a title, a frame. Yep. It's a racy Bronco. It's not going to be a restore. So the body didn't matter too much. Besides the floor pans and the normal stuff on it, there's, not the hood. We didn't need the top and all that stuff. So it was in pretty poor condition. There was quite a bit of work, but Data 44, stuff like that were there.
What are you doing for suspension on that, and how much travel do you have?
Not as much as you think on the travel, but suspension, we have Wild Horses coils up front, just off-the-shelf coils. On the rear, we're working with Alcan on a different setup, but we have to stay with leaf springs. They're stock position, and they're stock length, and they're stock width, so 2 1/4. But we're flip to shackle, and we have different hangers on them. And as far as shocks, we're running Fox racing shocks.
So is the class that you're in, is it like considered a stock class? Is that kind of why you have to keep some of that suspension stuff? What other stuff can you change on the truck?
The truck was built for a Pioneer class. It's the lowest class in Nora, which is a homage to the original racers of Baja. And it's very stock. Like, you can't have crazy coilovers or anything like that. You have to remain true to the spirit. So I originally built the truck for that. I did put I kept to the class. They changed the rules, not because of me, but some other politics with other racers. And so the class we currently run is one above that. And so that allows a little bit bigger tires. I can run 35s now. And it allows air shocks or air bumps. Besides that, all the stock suspension components have to be in the same location. The same concept. You can't have anything over a 2-inch shock reservoir. You can't run coilovers. So it's essentially stock.
I always wonder, even though it's all fully box frame, I always wonder how those held up, because they're pretty stout.
Exceptionally stout. I come back from Mexico every time, and I'm floored with how tough the Bronco is.
Now, what engine, transmission, what's your drivetrain like?
We're running a 351 Windsor stroke to 408 and a Bronco C4 with some goodies inside, and a Atlas output with a 1350 rear drive shaft.
Okay, so you're doing desert racing with a 351 and a C4. Like, what's your top speed? You can't get more than 60 miles an hour, I feel like.
Our top is 104, but that's pretty scary. We've only hit it once that we know of. Honestly, we've learned a lot of lessons over the years, and I believe it was Rod Hall that says to win, you must first finish. And so that kind of echoes along the way. So we keep it down now to under 80 something.
At 80, like, what is your RPM like?
I think we're about 3,700.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah, it might be 4,000. It might be pushing 4,000.
Okay.
I think 3,500 is 72 miles an hour. So.
Okay. Yeah. So you're feeling every bit of that 80 mile an hour when you're doing that.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. I mean, the wheelbase, it's stock wheelbase and stock, length or width. It is what it is. It's any moment. So you try to feel the truck and you're like, do I really want to fix it out here? Do I really want to, those thoughts go through your head. We've been out there, we've had to fix it, and it's a lot better if you're driving it than you are fixing it. So,
yeah.
What kind of fuel capacity do you get in your class?
You can put whatever you want in, as long as it's safety fuel cell. We're running a 34-gallon fuel cell. I wish it was a 40. We think we get about 5.5 gallons. Roughly about 5.5 miles per gallon. We think.
Wow.
Which is really good. Believe me, that's really good.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of these racing engines and stuff, you're maybe lucky if you get 2 or 3.
Wow.
So 5.5 for us is pretty good, especially with a stroker. During Nora, we're flat out. So we're burning gas.
And now remind me, how many times have you done Nora?
I believe it's 5 at this point.
Okay.
We've done Nora 5 times.
And for someone who doesn't quite know what the Nora race is, doesn't quite know what even desert racing is, who's listening to the podcast, give us a 1 minute, just quick explanation of kind of what that is, what that looks like, how many days is it, like all that kind of stuff.
So Nora was revived in 2010. Nora is the original Baja 1000. They're the people who used to put on the Baja 1000 back in the 60s originally. Nora was revived in 2010 as a class for the classic vehicles to come back and race Baja. And so the format is a rally format. And so what that means is you do a section a day, and then you have time in the evening to fix and, fix anything that's broke or do whatever you need to do, get ready for the next day, and then you start and do the next section. So the current Baja format is over 6 days. It's roughly 1,300 to 1,400 miles. So it varies. The course varies. So that's Nora. There is an organization, as everybody knows, the Baja 1000, that's held by Score. And so Score now does the Baja 1000, the San Felipe 250, the Baja 500, and the Baja 400, which is happening right now. So they run those point-to-point, or they run those races, and those races are nonstop. When they say 1,000 miles, you have a time limit from the time you begin all the way to the end. There's no pause. There's no anything. You got to fix it and keep going.
Do you remember when it was just motorcycles, and I think Bruce Myers with the Myers Manx made his Frog, and they went out and raced it? Do you remember how long it took them?
I know the original cars, they were doing it in like 24 hours or so, I believe were the winning times. I don't remember the exact times. But what I do know is the course was much different back then. What we call Mexican Highway 1. It's the only highway in Baja from top to bottom, by the way.
Wow.
It's all paved now. Back in the day, they kind of followed what today is Mexican 1. So there was no highway. Partway down, coming from the border of the United States, the road just kind of disappeared. And so back in the day, it was all about navigation and wayfinding. The course wasn't as torn up as it is today, just simply because of the number of races that are run and the course and the weather and stuff like that, right? So I think back in the day, it was in the 24 hours or so was winning. We just ran the Baja 1000 in November, and we did it in 48 hours nonstop.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Jeez. You've done all these races. What would you say? Like, what's the craziest thing that has happened to you in this Bronco? Like driving it, I mean, you've got to have some stories.
Yeah. I mean, every time we go and race, there's craziness happening, whether it's to us or we see something or we're involved in something, or it's never ending, right? Especially in the really remote places in Mexico where we end up racing through. You never know what you're going to see. Our first race down in 2019 doing Nora, we were doing incredibly well. About the third day, we were coming into the finish line about 30 miles. We're just cruising. We were probably doing like 50 or 60. Loose gravel road, went over a rise. That rise I didn't know, because you don't know what the course looks like, by the way, in Nora. You can't pre-run. So we're just on this road and came up over the rise, and the Bronco kind of just got light, and that was it. And we went off the edge of the road, through a boulder field, and we did a dart into a cactus patch about 50 feet off the road and about 30 feet down. And, we just arrowed right in and did a bunch of damage and ended up on our side. And, we're all new to this racing thing down there. And I'm just like, I was so bummed. But we got it fixed and we started the next day.
Wow.
And the Bronco was torn up, but it still ran fine. A racer came by and flipped this back over. We wrapped both of our wheels around the calipers, front and rear, but we only had one spare. Besides that, we had all the parts to fix it. And the chase crew took about 6 hours, and they finally got to us, gave us a wheel and tire and some other parts we needed, and away we went. And that's one thing about Nora. If you don't finish the day, you have a chance to start the next day, as long as you make it to the finish line before your start time. The race is billed as the happiest race on earth because it gives you time down there to not only enjoy the competition, but also to fix your stuff and get back on the course.
How big of a crew do you guys have when you go out?
Originally, it was me, my navigator, and then it was two other Bronco guys. And I have a friend down in Mexico who lives in Ensenada that comes along. So there was 5 total.
Wow.
And we are still that 5 to this day.
Wow.
We do have added some more expertise to our team, including another driver this last year.
Okay.
And so we're up to 7 now, but we usually just take 5, including the 2 in the Bronco.
That feels like such a small crew for what you just, like what you explained, like, oh yeah, we drove off the road and, wrecked a bunch of stuff and had to fix it. Like, are you going to bed so that you can get up and drive the next morning? The crew's working?
Yeah, we're in it. So let's fix this, get it back on the course, and let's finish this race.
Wow.
And that's the mentality. I will say for the Baja 1000, it is a more expanded team. I think we were at I think there was 14 of us with 5 chase trucks, four chase trucks and 14 of us, because it is nonstop. So you can't have one crew fuel you, because you'll beat that crew.
Yeah.
So you got to have people staged as you go up or down the peninsula. But for Nora, you could do it with one truck.
For our listeners, what are like 3 or 4 things that you have to be watching out for while you're running?
Well, first of all, locals. All the courses down there they're public roads, as in they're local roads to villages or to fishing spots for locals, or you'll come around the corner and there'll be this big pickup truck full of horses and stuff coming at you. So you got to be on your toes and understand that, hey, they may or may not know there's a race going on. So around this corner, just kind of maybe let up and hang out on one side just in case. The other thing is animals. So it's free range. There's cattle and horses and all kinds of stuff down there just wandering about. And of course, people. There's a lot, actually, even in Nora, there's a lot of people who you'll be out and not see anybody for 2 hours, and you'll be flat out just for 2 hours out there. And all of a sudden there'll be like 15 people under a little canopy sitting drinking beer, cheering you on. Like, where did these people come from? It's crazy.
So obviously you're in the stockish Bronco class, but what are some of the things that you're allowed to upgrade, that you did upgrade, that is beyond just what, I would have in my Bronco?
We've done a lot of reinforcement. We've learned, we've had some failures or fatigue that we've seen, so we just addressed them. Candidly, when I built the Bronco, I am a huge fan of learning. from mistakes, from other people's mistakes even more. So I did a lot of
You would love my
people.
YouTube channel.
Yeah, I do a lot of going to see other racers, calling them, getting tips, saving all their pictures, just listening and understanding. And then from there, we've learned from our mistakes. So back to your question, some of the things we've upgraded, we've cut off all the stock suspension components like the leaf spring hangers and the coil spring hangers. All of our leaf spring hangers failed, the stock ones. We've reinforced the frame in several places with plate. What else? There's just a lot of cage work, right? Our number one priority is to have fun, and safety is part of that. There's just, I don't know. There's a lot of racing stuff like that you probably wouldn't do, but we're doing. We have dual stuff. So we have redundant systems. We have 2 fuel pumps, 2 pickups. We could change them on the fly. We've got double fuel filters. We got dual pickup or distributor with an entire separate system, 2 systems. So we could 2 coils, 2 ignition boxes, and we could flip them on the fly. So we have redundant systems. We carry a large box. It's a rafting box. If you've ever seen those aluminum boxes that are sealed, we have a big one on board with spare stuff, 2 batteries. I mean, you name it. We just try to carry it if we think we're going to need it.
I figured the leaf spring mounts weren't going to make it. How did the radius arm mounts hold up?
When we were in the Pioneer class, we had to run stock radius arms. After our incident, when we went off the road, we bent the stock radius arm mounts on the frame. So we replaced them with heavy duty ones, and we haven't had a problem since. Since then, we've probably bent, I would say, 6 pairs of radius arms. Pretty much every race we bend them.
It takes a lot to bend one of those.
Yeah.
Oh, we have no problems. It's not a problem. And honestly, it's a bit of a fuse for us because we're running a stock Dana 44.
Wow.
So it takes a lot of abuse, and it takes a little bit of force when we hit something. And we hit something every race multiple times. And we're talking just a hard jarring impact that hurts your hands, it hurts you. So those radius arms take an abuse, but they also kind of absorb some of the damage too.
We're talking about your engine, 351 stroke to 408,
Yep.
EFI or carb?
Has to be carbs, even in the class we're in now. So we're running a Holley Truck Avenger that's a little bit customized. It's a dual pumper setup.
Okay.
But no real tricks to it. It's basically a stock carb, but it's tuned rather well. We also have backup carb. So we have the exact same carb, but we have it it's tuned and ready to be dropped in. We've had issues with our carb in the past, but I'd say it's been pretty robust. We've had very little issues. Let me put it that way.
From a Bronco guy, to a Bronco racer, I love what you do. And I love that you picked a Bronco to do it. I just think it's so cool because how many times have I been, just out on the trail and I step on it and get up to 30 miles an hour and I'm like, ooh, look at me, I'm a racer, but it's like, I would love to do what you do. And, it's like, I love that you guys did pick a Bronco because it makes us Bronco people, happy. And I love hearing, even though there's failure points, I love hearing about how strong it is and how much it can handle and even how much the C4 can take. I just think that's incredible. That 104 to me is mind boggling in a Bronco.
Yeah, it was definitely scary. It was actually our first year too that we hit that, and we just didn't know. I mean, and it had more to go. It would have kept going, and I'm like, I knew it was fast, and I can't see. I have nothing in front of me. I just have a steering wheel, so I don't know speed. I don't know RPMs necessarily. Navigator is over there looking at all the gauges. He's got the navigation. I am looking what's coming up on the road, and that's all I do.
I think it's super cool that you're running a nostalgic class and you have a carburetor and you still have the radius arms and leaf springs. I just think that's fascinating. Do you ever think about maybe driving your new Bronco?
Yeah, I'm actually relatively good friends with Brad Lovell, who you're probably familiar with as well. So, and he lives in Colorado Springs, and I see him quite often because we're down in Mexico at the same time and stuff. But yeah, I'm a little jealous that he gets to drive that DR now. And then he has the 4600, but he also owns a few, as you probably know, a 68. And to go back to the question of it's cool that the statement, hey, it's cool you're racing an early Bronco. He's one of my inspirations, right?
Wow.
I see these guys down in Mexico racing these early Broncos. I love early Broncos. My family's from racing. That's it. I'm going to go do it. And that's what I did. I went and found a Bronco and built it.
Well, cool, man. Thank you so much for taking the time. Definitely, if you aren't following Chris yet, go out and follow him. Go follow his racing. Go follow the Bronco. And yeah, man, we appreciate you being on here and giving us some of your time.
Absolutely. I do. Yeah, this is fun. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, look forward to talking to everybody and see you later, hopefully on course.